Let's talk about HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Before we jump into the nitty gritty details of the protocol and how it works, it's important to understand why we should care, right? Let's talk about image sharing. So, you've got your camera phone and you take a couple pictures, right? Now, it's important to remember that 20 years ago, right, in the 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't easy to share digital photos with, say, a friend or family member. It was easy to take photos. We've had digital cameras for a long time, right? But it wasn't easy to share them. These days, if you use an app like Instagram, right, you take your photos, and then I on my phone can fairly seamlessly download your photos over the internet onto my phone. And it's really important to understand that this is really the secret to Instagram's success. They made photo sharing really, really easy, and they did it just using the internet. So you may be wondering, what the heck does this have to do with HTTP? Well, HTTP is the protocol that was almost certainly used to download those images. HTTP is the most popular protocol for communicating online. You've probably noticed that every time you go to a website, you see that HTTP colon slash slash section of the URL, right? That's because every time you visit a website online, you're using the HTTP protocol to do it. It's worth pointing out that while HTTP is easily the most popular protocol, it's not the only one. I would argue that as a web developer, you should definitely start by learning HTTP, and you can go on to learn more advanced networking concepts down the road. So I've used this word, protocol, a couple of times, and you may be wondering, what the heck is a protocol? Sounds like a really complex thing. It's actually not. Protocols are very simple. Let's jump right into what we mean when we say protocol. Let's imagine that I write a note to you just on a piece of paper that says, raise your hand. So I write this down on a piece of paper and I hand it to you. And when you get the piece of paper, you read it and you raise your hand. So the question is, upon reading the piece of paper, how did you know that I wanted you to raise your hand, right? You saw these symbols on the piece of paper, and somehow you were able to understand that your hand should be raised. Well, it's because we have a protocol for communicating over text, right? We've decided that these symbols that look like this, RAISE, that they form a word, right? And that word means to lift something up. And hand, we've decided that these symbols, HAND, mean, this thing at the end of my arm. And it's just a set of rules that me as the person communicating and you as the person who I'm communicating to have agreed upon. And now that we've agreed upon that set of rules, we can communicate, right? Over this, in this case, the medium of a piece of paper. A protocol on the internet works in the same way. We decide upon a set of rules, right? And then two computers can both follow those rules and communicate with each other. In the case of computers, instead of sending plain text, right, RAISE, we would send kind of strings of ones and zeros. But the idea is the same. This is just information that's sent between two computers over a network, and the protocol, right, hypertext transfer protocol, the protocol is what tells the computers how to parse this information as something useful. So, because we have this protocol, this way of parsing kind of ones and zeros as useful information, I am able to send you a photo over the internet, right? Again, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros that represent something, but because you and I agree on this protocol or this language, I can send you the image of, for example, your niece's birthday party, right? And your phone is able to parse all that information and display an image. So that's what makes HTTP so powerful.